Well, all of you know this is my favorite time of year. I cannot believe that Tristan actually turned 17 years old. And wow, I feel old. But listen, you know what? I am so excited about my next guest. What a great time of year as well to have my next guest on. The thing is that I don't think people realize that through our country, the number of children that are without, and I mean without, I mean, we're talking kids from foster care who, don't even have a brand new pair of pajamas. We're talking kids who, their families are doing everything they can do just to get by. I say this quite often, our forefathers, whether we all realize this or not, they actually built communities so we could take care of each other. And somewhere I think we're missing that along the way. But I will tell you, my next guest, he didn't miss it. In 2012, he started the one of the most amazing nonprofits that I know. I am so lucky that, he's not just a guest, he is actually a friend to me. And he started a nonprofit, Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And I'm not going to take any of the limelight about how he's going to talk about the story, but I'm telling you, every single time I see a post, every single time I have somebody in my feed mention it or, see it on the big screen, I can never be so proud. So, Luke, welcome to Fostering Change.
Rob, thank you, man. That was a great intro.
Buddy, I will tell you, I get to talk and meet so many executive directors and founders throughout the country. The last 7 seasons we've had this podcast, I've had,
Wow.
just you name it, I've had them on my show. But I will tell you, what you do, it's just so simple. It's like us with the case. It's so simple
Mhm.
once you like, educate people. So let our listeners and viewers know exactly what is sleep in heavenly peace.
You bet. Yeah. Well, first of all, man, thanks for having me on. People don't know. Rob and I, we go way back, man. Like I remember I idolized comfort cases. When we started, got a little bit of a megaphone launched on Sleep Family Peace and started going nationally. I'm like, man, how's Rob doing? I gotta, and I called you a couple times, and it was awesome. I'm like, one day I might be as cool as
Look at
Rob.
you. You have knocked it out of the park. I mean, I'm
Oh
telling
man,
you, I
that was
every
great. I,
single
I
time,
appreciate it.
every single time, it's just like I see just the momentum and
Yeah.
I just love it. So, let everybody know, because not let everybody know what is sleep in heavenly peace.
You bet. You bet. So we're a nonprofit, right? Our mission is no kid sleeps on the floor in our town. And where that came from, Rob, was in 2012, like many other people, you stumble across something that you've never heard of or something that's never it seems obvious to you and I that this need everybody's got. But when I found out that there was a child, well, actually a family that had children sleeping on the floor on a consistent basis, I thought, well, surely this isn't like a permanent thing. This has got to be like some they've got beds somewhere. And the fact of the matter was they didn't, right? And I'm from a small town, 4,000 people, so everybody knows everybody, which is both good and bad. But but I found, I mean, these people lived in a part of my tiny town I didn't even know existed. That's how remote it was. That's how run down it was. The school mom was, or the school was excuse me, the mom was a school bus driver. The dad couldn't hold a job. He had some health issues, and they were just struggling, right? And so we were helping them with quite a bit of stuff. And my duties in my church at the time was what was called Young Men's President. So I covered the education, or the was spiritual growth, but as well as the activity arm of these boys. And I mean, you got boys. You know how hard it is to try to
Oh,
find activities that don't involve a screen or a video game or whatnot, and have it be fun and entertaining for these guys. Well, when I heard about this family didn't have any beds for the kids, I thought, this is a great opportunity. I know my way around a saw and a drill a little bit, and I thought, let's teach them something. Let's get an Xbox controller out of their hands and put a drill in it, and let's teach these boys a bunch of things. The joy of service, probably most important, right? I love serving. I served in my community, I served in my church, I coached, I did all these things. Brought me a lot of joy, and I wanted that for these boys. And so we started building this bed, and had such a great experience. The boys loved it. I enjoyed it. The sad part of the story is I didn't go on the delivery. It was,
Oh,
it was the first week of Christmas, about this time, and I had to clean my garage because Idaho in December is not quite
I can't
warm.
imagine.
So, anyways, but the next day at church, man, they talked about how amazing the experience was of taking a child who's never had a bed to sleep in.
Yeah.
When you kind of stop and think about that, let alone when you see it, right? Man, it sure changes you.
Yeah, it really does. The fact is that I've told my story many times as a young boy growing up with a mom who, had 10 kids, and there were more nights than we had where, we did not have beds and we were sleeping on the floor. And, a two-bedroom apartment and, 10 of us kids all scoured in a room. You know, I've seen the massives come together and build these beds.
Mhm.
It's like us with our cases. I mean, that feeling that you
Oh
get
yeah.
when you know something is going to make an impact.
What's interesting is, so maybe like you, like when I first said, okay, listen, I went on my first delivery, right? We built, so I had some extra wood. Me and my kids built a second bed because I wanted my kids to have the same experience, right? And so when we built it, man, I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know child bedlessness was a thing. I really built it for the experience to have with my kids. Well, then we started scouring Facebook to try to find a family that had kids sleeping on the floor, and we found one, obviously. Um, and when we delivered this bed to Haley, Haley was a 6-year-old girl who's never slept in a bed. She slept in the backseat of her mom's car. And I'm sure you've probably seen some of this off and on with comfort cases. You've seen poverty before, you've seen homelessness, you've seen transitioning homelessness, but I guess I never viewed it through the eyes of a 6-year-old, or at least the eyes of a child, right? And when you do that, when I walked into her house, and there was nothing in it. I mean, there was a can of soup sitting on a hot plate on a milk carton in the middle of the living room, right? I mean, there was no couch, there was no TV table, there was nothing. And to see this little 6-year-old girl so happy she finally at least had a house, right? She pulled me in her room and said, come look at my room." She didn't know why we were there.
Right, right,
And so when we walked into her room, I mean, you can imagine there was holes in the carpet and wallpaper missing, and no door on the closet. And there's used, but what got me the most, Rob, was in the corner was this pile of clothes, and that's what little Haley slept on. And I mean, right there, if that didn't melt your heart,
yeah,
then we started bringing in these pieces of bed that we made and started putting the bed together. She caught on to what it was and just like erupted. Like I'd never seen a child just go from, I mean, she was happy already, but
right, right.
I mean, hugging strangers, hugging the bed, kissing the bed. I mean, it was just incredible.
Love
And
it.
then if that didn't kill you enough, right? I'm sitting there. I remember I was sitting down on the bed, like, kind of just giving her a hug and saying, "Hey, here's your bed." And I look up. Oh man, I gotta cry. I see this mom, single mom, and I'm raised by a single mom too. I mean, 6 years of tears just pouring down this lady's face. And boy, and I knew what every single one of those tears meant. I'd seen it with my mom. I've seen it, as she struggled trying to raise 5 kids on her own. And um, boy, it changed my heart like this. I'm a farm kid from Idaho. I hunt, fish, college football, I do all that stuff. But in a second, everybody, that changed. I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't care about that stuff much anymore. It was just
Yeah.
how many kids can we get off the floor?
You know what? And Luke, I think that's the reason why, you and I have been friends for, close to 13 years. And the thing that I love about you and I is that we're different in so many ways, but we are so similar in so
Mm,
many ways. And just
sure.
like you, I had that epiphany aha moment that it was just like, all that I had in the corporate world just didn't make any
Didn't it?
difference once you see the look on a child's face that you have
Yeah.
impacted their future. The fact is that I love your model. I love the fact that, you You're all over the country. You have chapters I'm seeing left and right popping up. How can people actually get a hold of you
Yeah.
and actually, maybe they might want to, yeah, because listen, everybody, you gotta understand this. And by the way, I might live in Darnestown, Maryland, where just like my friend Luke, we have a population of about 4,300. We all live in single family homes. We all know each other. But let me tell you something. It would not surprise me one bit if there were children in my community that are sleeping on the floor. So I don't want you to think that this is not something that is affecting all of us. And this is not just your Midwestern
Right.
area. This is happening in New York and in
Yeah.
our nation's capital and in LA and in Orlando. There are
Oh, yeah.
children all over this country who at the nighttime are walk into a room stark with nothing in there, no mattress, lucky to have a blankie or a pillow.
Yep.
So Luke, what if somebody wanted to open up a chapter?
Absolutely. And that's really where the rubber meets the road for us, right? When I'm a farm kid from Idaho, when we decided to be a nonprofit, and you're probably the same. I'm like, listen, okay, if we're gonna be a nonprofit, we're gonna structure this like I would want to structure a nonprofit, which I come to find out is a little bit out of the norm. But I wanted people to know, listen, your dollar goes here. You
Yes.
can help out here. We're going to make this as simple as possible because number one, I had a full-time job. I wasn't going to be able to do much, and so you know how it goes, dude. So it's like okay, look, we're going to build beds, and that's it. Like we're not going to add all these little things to it. We're going to build beds. Now, what that did, what I didn't know back then, but what I know now, what that did, and I train other nonprofits this exact same thing. The simplicity of your mission is very important. Mission creep can kill a nonprofit very quickly.
Yes.
But even more importantly, the simplicity can create and expand your nonprofit like none other. Sleep in Heavenly Peace I think, is a great example. We were just dumb luck structured it this way, but we knew there were other people out there that wanted to do what we did, or at least wanted to provide what we were providing,
Right.
in their own hometown. And when I back in 2000, well, 2013 is really when we became a nonprofit. We started a year
We
before
both
that.
did it the same year, buddy. You and
That's
I both,
crazy.
we both in
I
the
didn't know
same.
that. I didn't know that. Well, I scoured the internet trying to find another nonprofit that provided beds for kids. I found only one. It's called Beds for Kids in Charlotte. Great little organization. But that was it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. There's no other nonprofit that provides beds for kids. So I knew I needed to keep it simple for me, but I also needed to keep it simple for people that might be interested. And another simple process is how you can learn about Sleep in Heavenly Peace, how you can start a chapter or help out a local chapter or volunteer or donate. And that's obviously we go to our website, shpbeds.org. And the way we structured the website now, this is about a year new restructure, is when you type in shpbeds.org, it's going to bring up your local or at least the closest chapter's web page to you. So you get to see what they're doing, you get to see what their involvement is, the activities that they're doing locally. And the reason why we did that, Robin, you'd appreciate this, I'm sure, is it's more than about just providing a bed for a child. I knew that that was obviously our first mission.
Right.
No kid's going to sleep on the floor. But what I didn't know, and what I know now, is there are millions and millions of people out there, good-hearted people that really want to give back. They just don't know how, or
Exactly.
they don't have a
Exactly.
good avenue to do that. And so, in fact, I just got off the phone this morning with DeWalt. We're going to be working with them at their
That's
corporate office
awesome.
for a build. And they're like, how many volunteers can we have at this build? I said, as many as you can bring. I mean, and that's what we want. We want to include everybody and bring them together because this, like foster care, this is a community problem and it needs to be solved by the community. It's not going to be solved by some guy in Maryland or some guy in Idaho, doing their thing in one location. No, this is going to be solved by bringing people together, giving
Agree.
them the opportunity to serve like they want to and have the same joy and feelings that we get in satisfaction of helping others.
Yeah, and you know what, Luke, you actually you said it, and I say this all, you know, our communities want to actually do something.
Yeah.
They just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And they're just, I mean, seriously, they're just not educated about the trials and tribulations that we see, whether it's through foster care, whether we see with kids sleeping on the floor, whether we see it with people who are experiencing, hunger. I mean, all of these things that and if we just continue as nonprofits, one, working together like you and I have done over the years, but really teaching our communities where the problem is. And now I'm going to give you the tools to fix it. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
exactly, you know what, listen, everybody, I'm going to tell you, there's nothing better than when you have a friend on for a great conversation. Listen, I say this quite often as nonprofits, and Luke and I did not come from the nonprofit world. But for us to be in this world right now, we all have to work together. We all have to work together. And just like what Luke said, I can't solve every problem, but I'm going to solve this problem.
Yeah.
He's not solving every problem, but he's solving a very critical problem.
Yeah.
And I think as nonprofits, as you listen to these podcasts, which I know you do, start thinking about that. Start thinking about what truly is my mission, and how do I stay within that vision? Because
Yeah.
once you start spreading that out and start doing so much, you really don't do really a lot good, so
Yeah.
stick to one and do one good. Don't you
You
agree?
know, I when I was a season hero, they gave us they paid for our a trip to Los Angeles to be a part of the Annenberg Alchemy Foundation, which is nonprofit training. It was world class nonprofit training, and it's really funny. The first thing they teach you at this training for nonprofits is the difference between a board and an executive team. We didn't understand that. And quite frankly, it was one thing that we needed. We walked, as soon as they started training on it, we went, okay, that makes total sense. So, but the most important, the second thing they trained on really was telling your story, right? And where that's important for the individual is my story. I talk about tiny moments. I talk about how I was sitting on the couch and I was, kind of going through a life struggle, a faith struggle, didn't know, I wanted more from life. I knew I could give more. I just didn't know how. And here I just built a bed for a child. Here my kids are complaining about the presents I'm not going to get them for Christmas. Right? All these things started tumbling in. And I remember this thought: I can sit here and do nothing, or I can get my freaking feet on the ground, stand up, and get in the garage and build another bed. And it's those tiny moments that really define us. Now, we all have excuses for them, right? We're too busy, or, oh, it's not going to mean anything. Trust me, the only thing I was going to do was build a bed with my kids, right? If I found a child, which I didn't know there was one, great, even better. But it's the tiny moments that really define what our futures look like. And I can't help, you're the same. I can't help but think, had I not, hmm,
Mm.
had I not put my feet on the ground, got up and went to the garage, we've delivered almost 350,000 beds to kids, and that's one side of it. The other side of it is we had 500,000 volunteers since 2018. 500,000 volunteers that have been touched and been felt and had the opportunity to help the kids in their own community. That came from a tiny moment, everybody. And I
Yeah.
hope your listeners, and I know they will, are listening as they listen to you and hear the capabilities that one person has. Just a farm kid from Idaho or a kid from Maryland, right? We can make a difference. It takes a little effort, but it takes some confidence, it takes some desire, and it takes a community that you would be willing to include, right?
I love that. I love that. I say it all the time. If your table's not big enough, build a bigger table. Build a bigger table. Everybody,
Yep.
listen. This is another amazing episode of Fostering Change. I've said this. I have absolutely loved this season. Probably one of my best seasons in the 7 seasons I've had because I've been able to have people like Luke. I've been able to have my friends on
Yeah.
and really be able to make an impact. Luke, listen, we've got a lot more to do together, my friend. We've
Oh
got a lot
yeah,
of
baby.
beds, a lot of cases. We've got a lot more to do together, but I'm so, so lucky that I get to do this with you. And
Thank you.
so thank you for all that you're doing. And listen up, everybody. do me a favor, go over to Sleep in Heavenly Peace, shp.org. Um, volunteer, donate a quilt. There's so much that you can do, and we all can do it. And you know what? Time is the most valuable thing we have. So share it, share the time. Until next time, have a great, amazing rest of your day.